Hi, I'm Angela Ryder. Thanks for joining me. A lot of people think that they can't trust their intuition or they don't trust their intuition or feel like they're disconnected from it. It's actually more like they always expect it to be lightning bolt, really clear. And because it's not, because it's subtle, you might get a nudge, but then you start questioning it, and then everything starts to blur together. That intuitive signal comes in clear to begin with and just gets mucked up in trying to figure out what's going on. And you could ask yourself, is this my intuition or is this anxiety? Am I picking up on something real or I'm overthinking it? Because sometimes intuition is like shark, get out of the water. But most of the time, it's pretty subtle. So if you don't have a clear sense of how intuition speaks to you, or know the difference between an urgent, like spirit guide trying to keep you safe, or your anxiety jumping in, you end up second guessing yourself a lot. So again, one of the biggest misconceptions is that intuition feels strong, obvious, and undeniable. Sometimes it is. Thank goodness, sometimes it is. But most of the time, it's going to be much simpler than that. It's just going to be like a quick, I felt that, or I just knew of something. Or you have a sudden curiosity towards something, or a calm yes or no, just not for you. Or something suddenly feels open, or something suddenly feels closed. And with intuition, it comes in before you've even had a chance to think about it. And it doesn't usually repeat itself over and over to convince you. It just offers the information like an invitation. So remembering that intuition isn't going to argue with you is something that's really important. It doesn't want to debate the information. It's not wanting to go on a spiral thought process, and it doesn't want to prove itself. It's just saying, this is where we're guiding you. This is where you can look. Or you're done with that. It's time. Go this way. And then it gets quiet, because if you notice a lot of back and forth or justification and mental noise, that's something else. Intuition is just going to offer, and then it's you making a choice whether you're going to follow it or not. It's really easy to jump into questioning ourselves, especially if we've had situations where we've talked ourselves out of our intuition and then we begin to doubt what's true or not true. And I've had a lot of clients over the years come into a session knowing what their intuition is saying, but they spend the first 5 or 10 minutes trying to use their energy and time arguing their case for why they can't do or change something that they know their intuition is guiding them to do. It's like they're arguing to be stuck, and I'm not on team you staying stuck. So when we look at it though, the spirit team usually presents to me something that looks like a mental loop, like that intuition, and then it goes up into the mind, and then all the spinning starts happening. Or sometimes it's a conditioning program that's been activated. And so we spend time with the spirit team to clear space around the knowing where possible, and then dissolve its effect on being able to hear and act on it. Intuition, it's important to know what intuition doesn't feel like. Intuition is not anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious about the piece of information that you got, that's going to make it feel really urgent or repetitive or future focused. And it comes with a lot of what ifs and a need to figure everything out right now. But you're not going to do overthinking if you're following intuition. Intuition will come in, it's quiet, and it just has this calm, knowing sense of it's just right. Fear, that's another thing that can grab a hold of you, is fear, which is just, your mind and your programming and your experiences trying to keep you safe and avoid discomfort. And intuition may actually be leading you towards something that feels uncomfortable, but it's actually aligned. And so the need for being able to explore that little knowing that comes in and being able to just see where that construct of looping or fear or anxiety clouds it up so that you can't even just turn and look at what the invitation is. So that's kind of where you kind of get stuck, is right after that moment of intuition shows up. You get a clear feeling, a clear knowing, and then everything else joins in, and you start asking questions, analyzing, and thinking of all the reasons why you shouldn't, or that you need to convince all the questions that come up why that this piece of knowing is okay to follow. So it's not like the intuition disappeared. It's still there, and you still have a chance to follow it. And again, it might not always make logical sense, and that's where a confusion can happen with our intuition. Your intuition might have things that are a change of plans that you didn't expect or didn't see coming, lead you to a conversation that you weren't expecting, and towards a direction that doesn't fully add up yet. It doesn't come with a full explanation. It might just be a small turn to get you to look and find something that you wouldn't have seen otherwise if you stayed in the position of you have to know more. So intuition is going to be an invitation. It may give you just only the next step, or it may just be a knowing that to put something on your radar to pay attention to. My spirit team has, over the years, framed intuition as an invitation, not a mandate. You have free will choice about whether you follow it or not, but I found that the more I get curious and follow intuitive invitations, the clearer intuition becomes. And I have yet to meet anyone that has not had an experience of being able to follow their intuition. These are kind of like the times where intuition showed up and you just followed it without questioning. And it might not happen often, but every person I've ever asked it of, there's always somebody said, yeah, I just felt that I had to move or I had to do this thing. So everybody has intuition. It's just acknowledging it to start tuning to say, oh, that's how intuition shows up for me. You know, you had a feeling about something, you acted on it, and it turned out to be right. You knew you needed to make a change even before it became obvious, and you didn't stop to explain why, you just shifted yourself. So that's a little bit of how subtle the intuition can work. It's not a question of whether or not you have intuition. It's you don't even have to like turn it on. It's already there. And what helps is learning to notice how it feels like in your body, how quickly it comes in, how different it is from your thoughts, how soft it is, how it can pique your curiosity. And one of the best things that you can do for yourself is just when those intuitive hits come in, just slow down. Take a few breaths before responding to anything. And remember that it's an invitation that you can explore and be curious about. And maybe that's a way that you can circumvent your mental loops or fear or conditioning from jumping in, is just saying, oh, we're just going to explore this just a little bit so that you have time to let that intuition settle in and then give it some space and kind of protect the space. You don't have to look for dramatic things, just the normal feeling or a normal pop of awareness that comes in, and those are usually the most reliable. It's just quick, doesn't come with a lot of chatter or convincing. It's just quick, soft, clear, and you want to try to keep that space clear for yourself to be able to follow it. So, learning to recognize your intuition is a process, and there are going to be times where you still question it, misinterpret it, override it, and that's part of the learning process. And over time, when you follow your intuition and you give yourself space to circumvent being overrun by your thoughts and fears and conditioning, you develop a sense of trust of like, oh, that felt like intuition, and I can be curious about it, investigate it, and follow it. If you're in a place where you're sensing things but not fully sure how to interpret or trust them, that's something we can sort out together in a session. And because sometimes it only takes a little bit of clarity to recognize what's already been there all along. And you can find me at angelaryder.com.